Hello and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 154 at scavengerlife.com.
Hi Ryan, how are you?
I'm just doing great.
And if you're hearing this, we happen to be in the airport again. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show, but so if you may be hearing some of the overhead announcements. Yeah, we want to welcome everyone, just to remind people that this is kind of the continuing story of two eBay sellers. One is extremely attractive.
Which one is that?
Me. We've been recording this now since January 2013, so we're almost on our second year.
Yeah.
So we have a whole archives, and we do this twice a week. And we've been pretty consistently posting our numbers each week to the blog at scavengerlife.com. You can kind of see the money we make and how much we sell, and you can kind of see now over 2 years, I was going back and looking at our numbers, you can kind of see how they change, how they don't change, how they're consistent, It's kind of interesting.
I would love to actually at the end of the year put together maybe like an average or show things that have changed over the year.
And we hope that this is helpful or interesting, especially to anyone starting out or someone that's been doing eBay but is trying to do it more full time, that this kind of transparency we hope kind of helps someone see if it can work or not. And I'm glad we're glad people find this motivating, but we ourselves are not motivators. I think if you were to really sit down with us, we might be like really trying to push people into being like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Because it's all possible, but it's definitely not easy.
Well, it's just a lot of work. Everything is a lot of work. No matter what you do, you'll have to work at it.
I find that running an eBay store or any kind of online thing is really about you have to be organized and self-directed.
Yes.
And if you aren't those things normally, you aren't going to be that doing eBay.
Right.
So,
yep.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to do our numbers for the week?
Yeah. Let's see. How'd we do? Because you're telling me.
So this was a good week for us. Yeah, Ryan doesn't like to look at the numbers. She just puts her head down.
You know why? Because I have to pack all this stuff. It's just like...
So we sold about 60 items. Actually, more than 60 items because it's still Saturday. So we're still selling things today. But we sold about 60 items. We made about $2,600. So that's averaging about $300 a day, and that's gross profit. That's not.
That's before any fees.
Yeah, fees and expenses.
So our average price sold was $43. That's very good.
Yeah, we like that. It's number.
Let's get that number up.
Yeah, I mean I think we've slowly been pushing that number up from like the $30 an item
or less.
Pushing up a little higher. So those are kind of our numbers this week.
I will mention the whole week was me just packing. We just got home from being in Amsterdam for 5 weeks, and I packed for 4.5 days straight.
Yeah, so basically, if you think about it, Ryan was packing like one item every 10 minutes, so she was doing about 6 an hour. So she would do 48 to a day, and then we had 200 of them, so that would take a little over 4 days.
Yeah, and obviously people understand it. It depends on what the item is. Like a jacket or a shirt or something, that takes me no time. But, a delicate glass piece of artwork, that takes much longer. And you want it to take longer because you don't want it to break.
Right.
So.
And I'm sure there are people out there saying like, well, why doesn't Jay help you pack?
We had that conversation.
Why don't I help you pack, Ryan?
I think for me, it's a one-person job. I don't know. I mean, I know the so well, and I know how to get around them. No, I'm just kidding. I know how to pack stuff, what weight equals what for what part of the country.
Yeah, I think, normally, because I did feel a little bit helpless, because normally, we might have no more than 10 items to pack on a very busy day, and you kind of knocked it out in about an hour while you're drinking coffee. So that's why you've already just kind of done packing, but it's just when we have that many, it was a big thing, and I really didn't have a place in helping you, really, other than just... I would pick up all the stuff that had been done and take it to the porch.
Okay, you're totally forgetting that you got all the inventory from the other house.
True. I mean, I pull all the inventory.
You pulled half the inventory.
Okay. Throw me a bone.
No, but really, because I didn't have time to do. I didn't even have time to come with you.
Right.
I was like, I cannot come with you.
Right.
Here's the list. please find it.
Right.
If you don't, one day I did go to help find some stuff, but
We should have,
it just was insane.
and we should have recorded. It was probably the second day you were packing. We had,
God.
I would think probably one of the biggest fights we've had in at least the
A
past couple
long
of years.
time, yeah.
Like a yelling, shouting.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
It felt really good, didn't it?
At the end, it felt good because we resolved it.
Because what? It was about being just overwhelmed.
I was completely overwhelmed. I was just like, how am I going to get through? It felt endless. I saw a finite number, but things kept selling. And I was just like, I cannot keep up with this.
Right.
I could, but it was just, 200 items of very different shapes and sizes and like, whether it's delicate or not. It was just, my mind was exploding.
And Ryan wasn't doing well asking for whatever help she needed.
Please come to the traveler's aid.
You were saying that I wasn't asking for help? Yeah, because I was like, there's nothing that I can be helped with.
And you were getting so overwhelmed, you were just like, how are we going to keep doing eBay? I don't want to list. I don't want to list anymore. I don't want to do any of this anymore.
You know why? This is why. Because you were actually taking pictures of items.
Right, because that's my job.
And I was just like, no more items. No more items can be photographed or listed. Like, I have so many because I didn't list almost the whole time we were in Europe. So it was like, I have so much stuff to list.
Right.
I have so much stuff to pack. I can't do anything.
And I think it's many people can understand that. It's that feeling that we all get when you're just overwhelmed because you have a glut of items that need to get listed, a glut that needs to get packed, to get stored. It's just,
so
it can go. And that's why I think everyone starts really getting excited about Amazon FBA because you're just like, I pack it up, I send it to Amazon, they deal with
everything.
And
I think part of it too was like, it's not good to have like life conversations in the middle of like being like bogged down with that much work.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, we should hire someone. I can't do this anymore. And you're just like, obviously you took me very seriously. But I was just like completely burnt on day 2. I was just like, I can't.
You were so overwhelmed. You were just like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
I want a new life.
I didn't necessarily say that. But I was also sick. Because you were sick right before we left Amsterdam. And then right when we got home, I got it. So I was like, I feel horrible. I have all this work to do. Needless to say, I got through it. I packed every single item. And people have already got their stuff.
Yeah. Just to resolve the whole fight thing, I like it that we really get it out. We really have it out. Like, no holds barred. And then it was done in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We shouted it out. And then at the end, we were happy, you know?
Oh my God.
It was good.
No,
it was much better than the way I grew up, where just like people just stewed and just like held on to resentments.
There were like so many times during that fight, because I will mention we were eating breakfast during that and I was starving and I was like, I'm not going to leave the table because I'm so hungry. And there was one point where I was like, I'm not going to eat with you, but I'm actually just going to stay here because I'm starving.
Yep.
There were so many times where I'm like, I'm leaving.
Yep.
Well, we got to finish this. But
so that's the reality of running an eBay store.
Yeah, it's not all fun. It's fun to make money.
Yeah,
but
you got to work through it.
So anyway.
But things we did sell this week, it was really just a lot of kind of bread and butter random items.
Yep.
Really, it's nothing that's
just
special.
Random.
No
sweaters.
No home runs as they talk about it.
Home run.
But we did sell these, we got these park benches, the big metal ends where the slats fit into.
Yeah, they're like cast iron.
And we actually found them in Brooklyn. We were in Brooklyn a year or so ago, in the Park Slope area.
And we happened to have our car, so we
Right.
just threw them in the car.
They were being thrown away, and we picked them up, and someone bought them for $200.
$200.
Yeah.
I think I had 500 on them because shipping those, they literally weighed 50 pounds. And they're a weird shape. But I was like, you know what? Let's just get rid of them.
Yeah.
Let's sell them $200.
A person still has to build the wood part back into it. So there's
Right.
going to be some work. And,
Yeah.
And it's just always gratifying to sell something you get literally in the trash.
Off the street. So that wasn't bad. I was lucky that I had a box and I had all the packing material to pack it properly. I mean, it took a big box and I actually had it. So thank God for that, because that really saved me. I was really happy that I didn't have to pay someone to pack it, because I had everything and I did it. So
yeah. And then when we came home, we went to our couple of like go-to kind of thrift store, estate sale places.
Yeah.
And we got a whole carload of stuff in literally an afternoon. We got a whole carload of stuff. And we actually started to make an FBA box. We didn't get to the point where we were actually packing for FBA, but since everyone's been talking about how they scavenge for eBay and FBA at the same time, Amazon.
We started doing that.
We just, started putting stuff in the box that has like barcodes. And,
So we're starting to just gather like, okay, we've seen people sell this on FBA. Let's just start putting it in the box. I
mean, I get the idea that it might be easier. We're going to see. I find that the stuff we're putting in the box aren't really high dollar items. The fees we're going to get charged are going to be high. So we'll just see if it's worth doing,
Yeah.
It's just pretty incredible on eBay how you can make such high profit. That's really...
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that on the way here. Like last night, I sold a piece of artwork. It's just an amateur painting from the 60s. It's such an awesome painting. It's of a deer head. It's just a deer. No, it was a deer in the forest. And it sold for $40. And I probably paid like a quarter for it, and it's just gorgeous. I love it. So, I mean, that's a huge profit.
It's October now. It's kind of the beginning, getting towards the middle of October. I mean, if we're to be honest, we have not been following our own advice about a listing.
Yeah.
I mean, all summer long and up until now, halfway through the spring, so for 5 months, we've listed,
very few.
400 items maybe. If even that. So our whole thing about doing 20 items a day, we have not been doing. But we've been reaping the benefits because we have that large inventory. I mean, we have 3,400 things, although it's less than that now. But, we can sell 60 items a week for a good 10 weeks, 20 weeks, pretty easy. And I think we would still be making the same amount of money.
Now, if we weren't doing other jobs,
sure,
we would be home. We might decide to travel on our own, but that's the reason too, because if I were not, having to put time and travel into other jobs, I would be listing that much.
But that's my point, and the reason why I think I like eBay as a lifestyle is that we put all that work up front. We got a lot up, and now it's like we're able to work on all these other projects. Like we're going to LA right now for something totally unrelated to eBay. Just a whole other kind of cool project we're doing. And it's cool, and we'll be doing okay. To me, it's like eBay doesn't have to be our entire life. eBay becomes a part of our life. Like eBay was basically our whole life for the first couple of years, because we were like really focused on it. And now it's still important to us, but now it's more like a part of our life because we're doing all these other things as well.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And when other things slow down, that becomes more full-time. So it's really flexible.
Right. And so it enables us to pursue all kinds of things that we could never easily do before.
Right, exactly.
And like you said, when we have time where we aren't doing anything else, you can then go and list a bunch of stuff.
Okay, so let's talk about some customer issues. We sent out 200 items.
Right. And so far we've gotten 4 returns out of 200 items. So really it's about what you would think it would be. It's about 2% its return rate.
So far. Hopefully it doesn't go very much higher.
Right. And that's about what our store is normally. It's about 2 to 4% its return rate. And 3 of those were the automated its returns. And then only one of those automated returns, the person said that there was something wrong with it and expects us to pay for the shipping. But the other ones, the other person's going to pay.
They just didn't fit,
So, it's, that's not a big deal. It kind of sucks, but...
And we got 2 neutral feedbacks, which is unfortunate because they do count as defects. The thing about neutrals that always is insane to me is someone will say, like, great product, great service, and they left a neutral. And I'm like, what?
We had an extended a shipping period where they had to wait for it, even though it was very clear they knew about it. People are still going to sometimes be unhappy, and that's how it's manifest their unhappiness. So what do you do?
Yeah, and I did call eBay to try to get some of them. There are 2 of them. Try to get one of them removed. They didn't remove it, but I tried.
So eBay has some new in-person events, and we're going to link to that on the blog.
They just announced 3 more events in different parts of the country.
And we talked about how we went to one of them and we're not really impressed with what they talked about. But if they're near you, it might be interesting just to go stop by. I mean, they're free.
And you can ask questions and you can pin down the customer service people and really get specific about things.
Yeah, they're good if you really have good questions that you already have lined up, and if you bring a laptop and you can just get someone to focus on it. But and then the other thing was, we talked about PayPal sent us an email and said that they were going to allow next day its money transfer.
Yes.
And we tried it, and it worked.
I transferred money at 2 p.m. one day, and it was there the next day by 9 a.m.
Yeah, and that's huge.
It was great.
Because normally it's taken 3 full days, sometimes, 2 to 4 days. And so it was always a little bit of a tricky kind of game to make sure that you sent money early enough to get it into your account.
Yeah, so that's great. I hope they implement that for a lot more people. So something I noticed actually while I was shipping was it seems like USPS allowed for free insurance up to $100 for eBay items. But now it's only $50. So I had to insure a lot more items on priority mail than normal.
A ship
saver, which isn't bad. It's not too expensive, but I was not expecting that. So I don't know if anyone else noticed that. I would love to see when that happened. It obviously happened in the month we were gone.
And it's interesting they don't make any kind of announcement about it. It
just happened.
It is.
I mean, that was too bad.
So a couple things we learned in the comments of the blog is this week. Again, the comments have been great. People are really saying some cool things. It's one of the Steves. We have several Steves in there. He's saying that he doesn't even bother to watch his defect rate anymore. He said he lost his top-rated seller status, is like a lot of us did. But he says he doesn't let it bother him anymore.
That's a good attitude, I think.
And I really think that might be the wisest thing you can do. I mean, you should obviously be aware if people are unhappy. But, I think it is good just not to kind of worry about every little tiny defect,
Yeah,
Just treat people right, and if you have top rated, cool. If not, no big deal.
Yeah, I spent so much time on the phone this week. Just trying to get a couple defects removed that I thought were unfair, and you just spend too much time. And when Jay said, "Oh, Steve doesn't even watch his defect rate," I was like, "That is the right attitude at this point."
Sometimes I think because we're overachievers, we're always like, we have to have it, the best kind of rating. But I think it starts to be a losing game, mainly because it seems like ever since they started the defect rating, it takes so long to get someone on the phone.
God.
It used to be
fast. It's not even like getting them on the phone. They're like, "Oh, you want to do a defect, removal? I have to transfer you." Get transferred twice, wait, a half an hour each time. I literally spent almost an hour on the phone this morning. I just don't have time.
And I think that was our question for the people who do Amazon. I know Amazon has like a rating system too. Does Amazon have like a whole customer service number that all the sellers are calling?
Yeah.
Or does Amazon just tell you,
nothing.
Tough luck, It's whatever you get is what you get. There's no one to call.
Yeah. I wonder how different it is,
Yeah, because it seems like that's a big part of eBay's business is like the customer service part. Like, they must have to have hundreds of people on the phone.
So many people.
All the time.
Oh.
And then the other thing that was being talked about in the comments was, in last podcast, I talked about, like, I really wanted people to share numbers for their FBA, their Amazon FBA sales. because I hear people talk about FBA, but I never really see the numbers broken down between profit and how much the expenses are. We actually had a lot of people share their numbers publicly on the blog, and then we had about the same amount email them to us privately. And I really think that that's important because it really helps me understand if it works or not.
Right.
And it seems like a lot of eBayers are like selling FBA on the side. So it's the whole thing where like they're just scavenging, and some things seem better suited for Amazon and some things for eBay. And that makes a lot more sense to me than some of the other people who are the big like kind of building empires, you know, like where they go all in and they spend $20,000 in inventory. They're just still doing the dollar items.
Yeah.
They're just sending them into FBA. And I've seen the numbers that people have sent, and it's cool. But it always seems like more of like a side income. Like I never see anyone doing it where you're making a full-time living on Amazon unless you're really going big, you know?
Like Ryan Grant.
Right.
I mean,
like
he's going all in.
Right. I mean, it seems like if you want to net, after expenses and everything, $6,000 a month, it seems like you have to sell a ton of stuff on Amazon.
Yeah.
Versus if you want to make $6,000 on eBay, I feel like, I mean, we don't sell that much. I mean, you know, you sell $130 items on
and you can make
eBay
$6,000
because you can make a higher profit per
absolutely.
item. So it seems like it's interesting. Then with FBA, it seems like the bottleneck is the sourcing. You know, if you're really trying to go big on it, you really have to source enough good inventory, and that seems very difficult. Just kind of going out randomly scavenging because you know.
But again, we talk about this where FBA, there's, you know, a different level of work because with eBay you get a higher profit, but you list every single unique item individually. You pack each item. You deal with customers about each item. So it's like this whole other world.
So bottom line though,
it's all work.
We're gonna try. So
we'll try.
So we have that box.
We're gonna fill up a box or two and give it a go.
All right. So we're at the airport. We're about to fly to LA. We're gonna be there for 2 weeks. We'll continue to do the podcasts but really we're not gonna be doing any eBay.
Except selling.
Except selling.
And not shipping.
I think
until
that's.
We get home.
I think that's a big experiment right now over these past 2 months. Is really like, can Jay and Ryan continue to make the same amount of money every week, even though we are not a listing?
So far,
you know?
so good. And you know what? We have so much stuff in our store. Like, let's sell some of all that stuff.
I mean,
you know?
we've had a great day so far. I mean, we've sold, I think, 8 things so far. So it's good. The holiday season's always nice.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so let's answer some questions that people mailed in.
Okay, so Adam asks, eBay is leaving PayPal. Does that mean we won't be able to use PayPal at all? What is going to replace it? First of all, no one knows the answer to that, but I'm pretty sure it's yes, you'll still be able to use PayPal on eBay.
And I'm not sure if we're exactly the right kind of people to know that kind of stuff, because we don't really stay up to date with all the industry kind of stuff like maybe a person that owns stock in eBay would keep up with. We don't really care about that stuff. We just care, like, do the servers work, you know? Like, that's all. You know, like, as long as someone can buy our stuff, that's all we care about.
Yeah, I mean, that's not going to happen till when? The end of 2015. So, you know, we can talk about that then, how that's going to happen.
Yeah,
but
more to be, it's revealed.
Okay, so someone named Shamley says, do you guys ever take a hit on shipping? Not free, but for example, bundle some sort of shipping cost with the price of an item. Okay, basically they're asking me, you know, do I ever undercharge for shipping? No, I never do.
Yeah, I think that this is a typical mistake done by a new person.
Yeah.
And we did that when we first started out too, where you aren't really weighing things correctly when you list them. So the estimated or the calculated price that is made actually isn't the right price.
Right.
Because maybe you didn't think about what size box it was going to be.
We weigh every single item.
Yeah.
And we know how we're going to pack it just ahead of time. Okay, am I going to put this in a box? Yes. Will it have, 2 extra pounds of packing material? Probably.
We did get caught, I don't know, a month or so ago when we sent a box where we had the weight correct, but it was an oversized box.
Right.
So the person that bought it actually had to pay extra on the other side because we didn't pay enough for the size of the box.
And it wasn't that much over, but, even by a couple inches, some post offices will charge you. So that's a really good example. Now I'm obsessive with measuring any boxes that aren't priority boxes and putting that into the label.
And so that's why when, I hear people, source inventory on eBay, they're often buying from these as new people that sell like shoes with free shipping or, something heavy and it's like 99 cents to ship. I mean, it's just like these poor people just have no idea what they're doing and they're just, I don't see how they're making any money at all.
Right. So with experience and time, we've made sure that we do it right. And, I'm still learning with things like an oversized box.
Right.
You got to measure it.
I think the other thing too is, new sellers on eBay, number one, don't like to charge a lot for their items because they're so embarrassed, they don't think it's worth enough, or, why would anyone pay $50 for something I got for 10 cents, I mean, people don't have to know it costs you 10 cents. And then the other thing is they don't want to put the actual cost of postage because they're afraid people aren't going to buy their thing because the postage costs too much. But you know what? People who buy on eBay regularly know how much it costs to ship. So David asked kind of a long question. He says, he understands that there are some eBay stores like the ones run by people in China, where they have like 200,000 feedback. They're selling like, 1,000 things a day because it's like cheap electronics and they come right from a factory. But then he links to this one person's store where this person has 8,700 items in their store. And it's all stuff that we sell. It's like clothes and shoes and vintage purses. And it's all taken pictures of, just like we do. And his question is, how could anyone possibly have a store that big? Because we all know it takes so much time to photograph all this stuff.
Yeah.
So my answer is this. I looked at this person's store. I think what it is that there are people who hire out a lot of that work.
Yep.
You'll notice that a lot of the photos of the items are done on different backgrounds. So I think what happens is like this guy goes out and sources a lot of stuff, which is really easy to do, and then hires like 5 different people to take bins of stuff back to their own home and take pictures of it and list it for him.
That's how it's done, absolutely.
That's how it's done. Or what can happen too is we've seen this where some nonprofit or a business will own or will have a warehouse and they'll just have like corners of the warehouse where again they'll hire people and they're just all day long they're
listing all the stuff.
It's like a factory. I think that's cool, but the only thing that you always have to wonder is how much does it cost to hire these people versus how much more can you actually make? Like
what's the profit?
Yeah, like we've tried to do its numbers, and if we were to hire someone and pay them a reasonable rate, I just feel like
how much more would they need to be helping us make to pay them?
Right. It's a tough math equation, so that's how I think it's done.
Okay, so Zach says, I had an item not as described eBay case open up 58 days after tracking showed delivery. My understanding was that eBay had a 30-day limit and PayPal is 40 days. Do you know anything about this?
And I think we talked about this last time. PayPal and eBay are changing their limits, and I'm not exactly sure. And the best thing to do is not to ask someone on the internet, but to actually call PayPal and find out. Yeah.
I mean, if it's an eBay case, they must have changed it to 60 days, which is insane.
Yeah, I would definitely call PayPal or eBay about that because that would be, and then write us back so we can tell people. That'd be a very interesting thing.
Yeah. Okay, Rachel says, can you tell me how much tape you use for shipping? I'm on the paranoid side and use a lot of tape, but it's also expensive. So I'm thinking maybe I could use a little less tape. Do you use just one strip of tape per box closure? Do you put tape over your labels? Okay, so this is how I do it. On a priority mail box, I use just clear shipping tape on all the closures. So on the bottom, it's the main seam and then the 2 side seams. And then when I flip it, I pack it, and I do the same thing on the top. And I don't tape over my labels because you don't really need to if you use the adhesive labels. Now, if it's a delicate item, in a big box, I use a lot more tape for those, obviously. But for just regular priority mail boxes, I just do, 1 strip on the main thing and then 2 on the sides.
Yeah.
And I've never had a problem.
I carry the boxes to where the post office lady picks them up. As long as I can shake it and it doesn't feel like the thing's going to shoot out its bottom of the package, it only needs that 1 strip. It's only if it's heavy and like if I'm shaking it and like I feel it's like something's going to come out is when you need to do double taping.
Yeah, but just regular, I don't know what kind of items you sell, but clothing items or things like that aren't heavy or weird shaped, you should be fine with just 1 strip of tape on the edge.
All right, the next question is, what happened to Wendy and Mikey? I'm near catching up on all the podcasts and doing them in random order, and it seems like at some point they're no longer in them. Did they stop doing an eBay store? So the answer to that is, it was after 1 year, in December 2013, after a year of doing the podcast, they just decided that they had other projects they wanted to work on. Because, it takes time to like record this podcast, and Ryan like edits it so it's a little smoother.
And we keep up with the comments every day.
And we upload them, and they just decided like they had fun for that year and they wanted to go on to other things, and we decided that we like to document this part of our life, and but they still have an eBay store, and they still do it, and they still scavenge, and we still talk to them.
They have another blog too that we can link to. If you're randomly listening to the episodes, you're going to come across the episode where we say goodbye to them, and they have a blog post, and then we did an update with them too a few months ago. So
so they're very busy people too. They just everyone has to make its priorities and what's important to them.
Okay, the next question is from UmfugX.
I love that name.
Who comments on the blog quite frequently. Could you estimate how long it took you to get 500 items in your store and then over 3,000? And what was the process of getting so many things into inventory? How many times a week do you source merchandise and then list it? Okay, 500 items took...
6 months?
6 months?
Yeah. I think this is a really good question, and because it's exactly where we're at right now. In the beginning, eBay was our life,
Right.
We really focused on eBay. We were just finding stuff and selling stuff. We would go out and source 3-4 times a week,
All week.
And we were listing every single day.
Yeah.
Ryan was actually really obsessive at one point where you'd just be doing it.
There was a time when we didn't have any other work, and we had just moved into our house, and we were like basically camping inside our house, and I was just like, we have to pay for this house.
Right. We were redoing a house.
We have to pay for
and we
this
had guys
house.
working for us where if we didn't make a certain amount of money that week, we couldn't pay them. So it was like the greatest motivation in the world. Like, we need to sell
I would just
to fix
sit
our
at my
house.
desk. People would be like putting walls up around me, and I would just be like, okay, I'm listing.
But that's why when we say that 20 items a day, that anyone should really focus in a list 20 items a day, is because if you think about it, if you list 20 items a day, 5 days a week, that's 100 a week, that's 400 a month. If you do that for 6 months,
that's a lot of items.
It starts building up.
Stuff will sell, but hopefully you're continuously listing, so you're keeping your numbers up.
And we get that. It's hard to keep that kind of commitment up, but we had that commitment for a good chunk of time, 2 years, I think, to get to 3,000 items. It took us 3.5 years or so.
Because like we were saying, things do sell, and we would take other work trips for a couple weeks, and you just gotta keep going.
Yeah. So that's why too we made it a game. It was fun, going out to flea markets. So we would always mix going out and sourcing stuff and having fun versus being at home and listing.
that makes it doable, because it, one's fun, one's not.
But if you are new, or if you're trying to build up, it's your store. Maybe you've been on eBay for a long, long time, but now you're really trying to build up your inventory so that you can make some real cash. You really just have to be like the next 6 months. This is all I do.
Yep.
Every day.
Yep.
20 items a day.
That's how you gotta do it.
And
that's how you get 3,000 items.
And it's tough because people like to be motivated for 3 days and be done. But 6 months is a real commitment.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so Adam asks, I have a lot of stuff I've collected my whole life, saying someday it will be worth something. Should I aim to list things I will sell on eBay, or try to find a unique thing to list?
All the way from Israel. The answer is, you should sell what's fun to you. So if you have a whole room full of stuff, just grab something and put it on eBay.
Yeah, I mean, your stuff that you sell has to interest you, and you have to think it's interesting and know that other people will think it's interesting too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
And the goal is you want to list all that stuff. So start with the stuff that's fun to you, and then eventually list everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we do it.
Yeah.
We just buy stuff that looks cool to us, that we're like, someone else will think that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my business model. That's all I can say.
Okay, guys, we got to end this because we got to hit our flight. But we hope that you guys have a good week.
Hopefully we'll have some stories from the road. Maybe we'll go to Long Beach.
Yeah.
Antiques Market, Flea Market.
Flea Market, cool.
Which is an awesome place to go. And we'll talk to you guys later.
Okay, this podcast is ending in 3,
2,
1.